Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Let's Talk About It podcast by по-Английски, по-Британски. I'm your host, Ivan, and this time I'm going to tell you all about blue zones, what they are, where they are, and how they can teach us all to live a longer and happier life. But before we start, remember that you can always find the script and word set for this episode on my Boosty at boosty.to/Britishly. You can find all the useful links in the description of this episode. So, are you ready to begin? Let's talk about it. First, I have to explain why it is really important to know all about blue zones and learn from the people who live there. Nowadays, as you can notice, lives become faster and the world around us is changing so rapidly that sometimes we even lose the track of time and find ourselves thinking, when did it happen? And in what circumstances? That happens just because we are always in a hurry. We're constantly working and trying to push through to get better income, better accommodation, better cars, and so on. Unfortunately, in this rush, we just forget to live. I mean, when was the last time you stopped and looked around for a second, not thinking that you have to meet your deadlines at work or at university? Please notice here that I'm not talking about your holidays or days off. We all have them, it's out of the question. I am talking about your work days, and by this I mean your week routine. Okay, let's say sometimes you can take a pause and stop for a moment. If it really happens, then you already do well in your life. Nevertheless, let me pose another question here. When was the last time you phoned your parents with a real desire to know how they're doing? Let me pose it even this way. When was the last time you visited them? Again, if you do all what I've mentioned, then you already do absolutely well, and I'm really happy for you. And I shall say that I've got no intention to insult anyone. I've posed those questions only with the intention to show you the real face of the modern life, the face of rushing, the face of obtaining as much as we can, the face of eating unhealthy food with the only purpose to save some time, the face of forgetting about the closest around us. And the question is this: can we do anything with it? And if we can, then what? How can we change our lives? Are there any people to learn from? Are there any places in the world where life is different? Actually, there are people and places. And even if you don't have any problems with those things I've mentioned, you still probably have to listen till the end, because those people have lots of habits which you can implement in your life to make it happier and healthier. Okay, let's first learn some general information about blue zones and enumerate them, because there are not many of them in the world, only 5. They are Ikaria in Greece, Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, and Loma Linda in California. But what are those zones, and what's so special about them? Blue zones are regions in the world where the inhabitants live significantly longer, healthier, and more active lives than most other people in the world. They tend to have higher concentrations of centenarians. People are living to 100 years old and over. They don't only live longer, but they are highly physically mobile, function exceptionally well cognitively, and are always engaged in community activities. Now, let me take you on a little journey to each of those blue zones I've mentioned. The first on our list is Ikaria, which is a tiny island in Greece. It might surprise you, but people there have one of the lowest rates of chronic disease. For instance, there's virtually no dementia in Ikaria. There's also 20% less cancer and half the rate of heart disease. But how's that possible? Well, back in the day, Icarians were isolated on the island and created a culture with a slower pace of life. They don't rush anywhere at all and do everything deliberately. If they eat something, they don't just consume the food, they enjoy it. Moreover, let's take alcohol. They don't drink the strong one, but they really like to sip on the wine while sitting on the terrace. It's not forbidden. It's even appreciated. Notice that they don't get wasted or drink to spend an evening in complete oblivion. They drink only for pleasure, and health. They also spend lots of time with their loved ones, be it family, friends, or even their pets. The island is not so big, so they like to visit their parents or grandparents for dinner, or just drop by to say hello. In addition, they spend quite a lot of time outdoors. Thanks to the warm climate there on the island, they can do it without any trouble. In addition to the subject of nature, the island has quite a mountainous terrain, so if an Icarian goes anywhere, they have lots of intense walking or biking. They have cars, of course, but they prefer to move around naturally. One last interesting fact about Icarians is that they occasionally fast. They do that because Icarians are mostly religious people and have to fast over time. Here I shall say that it's been scientifically proven and backed that occasional fasting helps to have better relationships with food, and hence to improve average health and prolong life expectancy. The next blue zone on our list is Okinawa in Japan. Despite the coming of fast food to this region, and hence a drop in their life expectancy rates, this area still occupies the name, the Land of Immortals. The inhabitants' key to a longer life in Okinawa is a plant-based diet with plenty of fresh vegetables that they follow throughout their whole life. This, however, is not the only reason why their bodies and minds stay healthy for a long time. The second key is that they have a practice called Hara Hachibu, which is a Confucian philosophy of only eating until you're 80% full. The third key is gardening. You might say here, I hate gardening. I would reply, me too, but gardening has been proven to reduce stress, and it is also a great exercise that can help you improve your flexibility and overall well-being. That's because when you're gardening, you're staying outdoors in the sun, soaking up vitamin D and moving around actively. Getting on, let's take a look at Sardinia, which is an Italy island in the Mediterranean Sea. People there tend to live up to 100 years old. An interesting fact here is that Sardinians are 10 times more likely to live to 100 than those who live in the United States due to their genetics and healthy habits. For example, as well as the inhabitants of Okinawa, they mostly follow a plant-based diet. Furthermore, they go hunting and fishing. Moreover, they like to drink different kinds of wine and various herbal beverages, which are filled with plenty of antioxidants. An important aspect of their life is family relationships. For instance, they like to have family meals, eating slowly, laughing a lot, and chatting. In a word, they just like to enjoy the moment. Their overall lifestyle is often at a snail's pace, because there's no reason to rush at these beautiful and quiet islands. The next area is Nicoya Peninsula, which is in Costa Rica. Centenarians in this region have a strong sense of purpose, or as they say, plan de vida. They highly contribute to the community and especially to their families. Nicoyans tend to spend lots of time with their closest ones. For instance, there it's highly appreciated when a person continues to live with their family, even after reaching maturity or having childbirth. In the means of food, their eating habits are very healthy and profoundly influence their longer lives. Nicoyans eat a light dinner in the early evening, so they never go to bed on a full stomach. Furthermore, the local water is naturally fortified with calcium, which may explain the fewer fractures in the elderly and lower rates of heart disease. The last place to tell you about is Loma Linda, which is in the United States, California. This area isn't fully a blue zone. It's more about the community of around 9,000 people from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Those people usually live 10 years longer than an ordinary American. They add up those 10 years by leading a healthy and active lifestyle. And by this I mean, first, they are vegetarians. Second, they avoid any alcohol or smoking. Third, they always stay hydrated by drinking the needed amount of water, and they also tend to eat lots of nuts and take regular exercise. Adventists also believe that being surrounded by like-minded people with the same beliefs helps to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And that was the last place on our list. But we aren't finished yet, because we haven't talked about what we can learn from Blue Zone's inhabitants. So, if you've been listening carefully, you've probably noticed that all those people who live in Blue Zones have similar and sometimes even the same habits, which are a healthy diet, strong social connections, a sense of purpose, moderation, and lots of activity. Well, let's dive a bit deeper into each of these aspects and see what we should do to adopt them. First, of course, is their diet. Here I can suggest that you eat a full spectrum of fruits and vegetables and make them the bigger part of your everyday diet. Moreover, as a snack you can have some nuts and seeds. Remember that eating some walnuts or sunflower seeds is a lot healthier than a pack of crisps. Therefore, start your day with whole grains. Thanks God there's a great variety of options in most grocery stores. Next, take into consideration limiting red meat and dairy consumption. As for meat, it would be a nice start to switch to chicken meat first. It's time healthier than the red one. As for dairy for starters, you may substitute ordinary milk with oat or soy one. It doesn't work for anyone, but at least you may try. The last tip here is to stay hydrated. Take into account that you don't have to drink as much water as you can. Don't do that, because it can be detrimental to your health. Just check your weight and height and take into account the climate you live in. Then go on the internet and search for the amount of water you have to drink a day and try to hit this amount every day of the week. Now, let's talk about the sense of purpose and the mental approach that you should adopt if you want to live as they do. Start with taking some time every day to reflect on your values and goals in life. This way, you'll be able to make sure that you're living in alignment with what feels meaningful for you, and in short time, you'll notice that your life is changing. This is also a good way to reduce your average stress level, which is absolutely important if you want to have a healthier mindset. Moreover, you can practice spending time in nature, meditation, or journaling. These will surely help you improve your responses to stressful situations. The next tip is to spend more time with your family and friends. I'm not going to talk about this tip a lot, because for many people this might be difficult due to many different circumstances. I just want to say that if you haven't got enough time to visit or meet your family and friends, it's always nice to pick up your phone and call them. Writing messages is also a good idea, but calling is much better and gives you and the person you're calling much more energy and pleasure. And the last but not the least tip here is active lifestyle. It is obvious, but moving as much as you can profoundly helps your body stay healthy. As an example, here I can provide you with my case. I have huge problems with my back. At my age of 24, I have a hernia and 2 protrusions of my intervertebral discs. These give me sharp and long-going pains once in a while, and especially at those moments in my life when I lose track of time and start spending continuous hours at home without visiting the gym or going out for walks. At those moments, I just say to myself, it's time to stand up and move for a little bit. And then, even if I don't go to the gym, at least I start to go out more, or do some stretching exercises at home. Magically, the pains go away and I start feeling better. And this is an excellent example of how staying active can help you feel better and improve your health. So, I think I've told you all I wanted to tell you about Blue Zones and their inhabitants. Now, I hope you have a better understanding of what you have to do to live longer and healthier life, and you know that it is possible to live such a life because there are people in the world who live like that. In addition, I want to mention that I perfectly understand that some of the habits I've talked about are impossible to adopt in some regions and for some people in the world due to various circumstances. Nevertheless, if you adopt just some of them, you'll surely notice changes for good in your life, and your body will thank you for taking much more care of it. My final thought on why we should learn from Blue Zone's inhabitants is this. By learning from their wisdom, we can see a clear pattern in what it takes to live a vibrant, active and happy life without spending money on all the latest hell hacks in an attempt to cheat death. Just remember, a happier, healthier and more fulfilling life is just a few lifestyle choices away. So, that's it. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you have, remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons, because there are more fascinating and incredible episodes to come. Moreover, if you have trouble understanding this episode, go on my Boosty at boosty.to/Britishly, and you'll find the script and word set for this episode at a fair price. All the links are in the description to this episode. And the last, but not the least, if you have trouble learning English or you are feeling stuck not knowing what to do to develop your knowledge, then you can always write me on по-Британски on VK and ask for help. My brave teachers and I are always glad to see new faces joining the courses. Thank you for listening. My name's been Ivan. Stay tuned. Tada!